How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be taking a look at a 2022 Rieju MR 300 Pro. It's a pretty awesome bike. I would compare it to my 2012 GasGas EC 300, but actually more like the last year of the real GasGas, the 2019, I believe it was. A very good bike, a very reliable bike, an engine that keeps on going, and a unique bike versus all the other orange or even betas now are pretty common. You know, I would say this is more like a Sherco, maybe even less seen out in the wild than Sherco is. And yeah, it's a really great bike. So first we'll start with the suspension. The stock suspension is much stiffer than my 2012 GasGas EC300 was, which was really good for the enduro and hard riding. I never realized that at the time, but that suspension worked really good, although a lot of people didn't like the Marchuzzi, I probably said that wrong, Marchuzzi shocks or forks, but I liked them. They worked well for me, worked well for my weight. Maybe I was just lucky like that. The Rieju's suspension is much stiffer, but it does allow you to go much faster, and you can go over the whoops a lot easier. But it does lack in the very technical areas of like boulder fields, rocky areas. It's not plush. You do get bounced around. Of course, this is stock suspension. We don't really play with the suspension much because these are rental bikes. This is a rental bike we have here at A&M Moto Toys, and people love to rent it and go out. It's probably one of our best running bikes we have, especially for a two-stroke. And yeah, the suspension's a little stiff, but I think for most riders it's pretty adequate. And it's name brand and it works, and it's going to last a while. Tires. I had a whole video knocking the tires we have on it, the Sedona MX 907 HPs. They just stink. The front does wash out a little bit, but I can manhandle that. The rear, when you're getting tired, you just really notice how bad that tire is. So I highly do not recommend those tires. Yes, people are like, well, they last a long time in the comment section on my video complaining about. Well, yeah, they last a long time because they're hard rubber. They're not gummy at all, not even a little bit. So yeah, if you're dual sporting around, a great tire. I used to run that tire dual sporting. It worked then. It doesn't work now for my skill level in the technical areas. You want a tire that grips. This tire does not grip at all, which I learned way back when on my GasGas EC300 when I took the bike to Tennessee and rode with a bunch of guys there. They said, we absolutely do not run this tire here because it was sliding out everywhere. And I thought that was just the wet conditions, but even in the dry stuff here in Colorado, it slides all over the place. So bad tire. Stay away from the Sedona MX 907 HPs. And also, they're very hard to get off the bead. So that's another downside. They're very hard to break that bead and very stiff sidewall, so they don't flex. You can run 0 PSI in them, and that rear is not going to flex, and it's not going to probably break the bead at all. It's very hard to de-bead these tires. And then we have the bike's power. The power, I was going to say, is like my 2012 GasGas EC300, but I did get a ride the 2019 GasGas a buddy had just briefly, and this bike is like where GasGas had left off with the updates. And it works. It just works. I don't know, some people don't like where the starter is on the Rieju because it's on the side. Oh no, it's on the side. I don't know. It works. It's easy to get to versus betas. Beta, you know, if I want to get to the starter, that's a nightmare of a job you have to do to get to the starter to replace the starter. If I have to replace the Rieju starter, if somebody breaks it or something or just stops working, it's right there on the side. It's easy to get to, easy access. I don't know. It just works. I don't know why people seem to have a issue with the starter being on the side like that. What's it matter? It's on the side. It works. So I think that's just nitpicking from people because they see the starter versus it being tucked underneath, where if you got to replace it, it's very hard to get to on other bikes. You know, I personally like it on the side. Reliability, and I kind of touched on that, but I'll reinforce it with, you know, my 2012 Gas EC300. I had like 20,000 miles on that bike. I don't know how many hours I had. I just always went by miles because I always had a GPS on the bike, and I just tracked my miles. So 20,000-ish miles, and the reason for that estimate is not an exact number is because, you know, there was times where I took the GPS off or the wire broke or whatever. So in that range is a good approximation of what I had on my Gas EC300 in the time I owned it. And it just worked. I never got left on the trail, never had major issues. I only ever did one top end. It just went and went and went. And true, when I sold it, and I sold it to a buddy, he knew it needed some work, and he said the top end was, yeah, it needed to be done at that time. But the bike ran. He was able to do the top end, do some stuff to it, and it was up and running. So a very good, reliable bike for putting on all those miles, and most likely that's a ton of hours. So it's a bike that you can trust isn't going to break down on you. So thus, with Rieju buying all that, the factory, or I don't know, the rights to make the original gas and the tooling and all that, it's a good bike, good quality bike. And they're making sure it works, because this is a big bike for this company. They've been around forever, but they've mostly made like little mopeds, I guess, and scooters and stuff like that. This is like the biggest bike that they have made, from my understanding. So, you know, they want it to succeed. And I like it. I love the bike. It works really well. I wish there was more dealers. Some people, that's a turnoff because there's not a big dealer network for this bike. But I think the dealers that do carry tend to be like those boutique dealers, and they'll treat you a little bit better, and they know how to take care of you, and they know they need you to come back, and Rieju knows they need you to come back, so they're going to really take care of you. That's been my experience. I know the importer now, and I don't know, he's always been good to me, so unless you have some reason, a bad story, we can say that with any place really, right? Any make, there's bad stories. There's better stories with certain makes, like Beta has some good stories with taking care of customers. Rieju has good stories with taking care of customers. KTM has really bad stories because they're just huge. They stop caring. They don't care. They don't have that person down on the bottom that tends to take care of you. And, you know, that's pretty much the reliability of the bike. As you can see, I'm riding it pretty quick. It goes over the whoops pretty good. And, you know, this bike, in my opinion, is very overlooked and underrated bike. I think more people should look at it, try it out. It's a little bit cheaper than KTM. It's right there with everyone else. I think it's cheaper than KTM and cheaper than Beta by a little. And it's just a good quality bike, so I don't know why you necessarily wouldn't look at one of these unless you're really afraid because there's not this big dealer support group. Well, that's when the users and the riders come into play. There's plenty of Facebook groups nowadays, so as long as you're okay with social media, you can get on, find the groups, ask questions. People are more than happy to help you out and reach out to the company, and they're more than happy to help you out. And, you know, like I said, it's a good quality bike with name brand components. So, I don't know. I would say check out the Rieju MR 300 Pro. And they also have that Ranger too, that's kind of like the X-Trainer. I would love to try one of those. Maybe we'll do that sometime. Maybe we'll get one for a rental. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can do. We'll pull it off somehow, probably in the next year or two, because that would be a really great bike to try to compare to the X-Trainer. So you all take care, stay well, stay safe. Hopefully you enjoy my videos. Hopefully you get out there and ride, and we can facilitate that with the rental bikes that we offer here at A&M Moto Toys. So come down to Monument, Colorado, 481 CO-105, Monument, Colorado, 80132. You should be able to Google us and find us and we'll be looking forward to meeting you and shaking hands, and you can come down here and get a few stickers and what have you, and I don't know, buy just a few trail snacks or something. I mean, you don't have to spend much money with us. Just come in and say hi. You all take care, stay well, and stay safe. Bye.